This is Jennifer Gonzalez welcoming you to episode 241 of the Cult of Pedagogy podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk about 6 EdTech tools you should try in 2025. Every January for the last 10 years, we have chosen a small collection of tech tools we think are worth checking out. That will be the same this year, and that's what we will be talking about in this episode. But something else is going to be different this year, because traditionally when we put out this list, we do it to coincide with the release of our annual Teacher's Guide to Tech. This year, we're not releasing an annual version of the Tech Guide, not in the same way that we always have. Past versions of the guide have been in PDF form. We created a brand new version once a year and released it just once a year. Starting now in 2025, we have moved the entire guide online to teachersguidetotech.com. And from here on out, it'll be accessible through a subscription rather than a downloadable PDF. We made this change for 2 reasons. First, because creating the update every year took about 2 solid months. Every November and December, I was completely consumed with updating the tech guide, and that kept me from doing pretty much anything else. I turned down speaking offers, I cut back on podcast creation, and work on any other project had to come to a complete standstill because of the tech guide. We had to get it as close to perfect as possible for that once-a-year release, and that was a lot of pressure. And once it was released, the guide would slowly start to depreciate in value over the year as links broke, tools changed their names or disappeared completely, videos suddenly vanished from YouTube, and new tools came on the scene that had no mention in that year's guide. Moving the guide online will allow us to update it anytime we want. This means the content will stay fresh all year and we'll never again have to concentrate all of our update work into the end of the calendar year. We also always had issues with accessibility. We were told that the PDF guide was not optimized to be accessible for people with disabilities, and trying to figure out how to fix those issues was really far out of my wheelhouse. The online version should be much better, and we're going to continue to work to improve that. Another advantage of the online guide is that it's available on all devices, and it's mobile responsive. Technically, you could have put the PDF version on smartphones, but it was an awkward experience. Using the web-based guide will be a much nicer experience, and subscribers will be able to log into their accounts anywhere they have an internet connection. We've kept the price for a 1-year subscription the same as what we used to charge for the PDF. We also offer 6-month subscriptions and discounts for groups. We also know that schools like to pay with purchase orders, so we accept those too. To check out the new guide and see all the options, visit teachersguidetotech.com. Before we get started with our 6 tools for 2025, I would like to thank Alpaca for sponsoring this episode. Interested in knowing how your teachers are really doing right now? I've always believed that asking teachers and students for feedback is one of the simplest and most powerful ways to improve a school's culture. Last year at South by Southwest EDU, I discovered something new that really caught my attention. It's called Semantic Pulse Surveying, and it's from a company called Alpaca. You might have heard them on episode 230 of the podcast back in June of last year. I tried it myself, and it was so different from the usual surveys we're used to. Instead of picking from a 1 to 5 scale, I just tapped words that described how I was feeling. Words like joyful or refreshed, or words like half-hearted or drained. And I instantly thought teachers will feel seen and heard with this. What's great is that these surveys are super quick and anonymous, but they give school leaders deep insights into how their staff is really doing. Pair that with Alpaca's teacher recognition packs, and you've got a system that not only listens to teachers, but celebrates them too. If you want to make a real difference in your school's culture, check out Alpaca at alpacapacks.com/pedagogy and get a special 15% off just for Cult of Pedagogy listeners. Support also comes from Brisk Teaching. Are you drowning in endless lesson planning, grading, and trying to keep students engaged? What if you could save 10 to 20 hours every week while boosting your classroom's learning experiences with just a few clicks? Brisk Teaching is your AI-powered teaching assistant designed to make your teaching life easier. With tools like creating personalized feedback, assessing student work, and even elevating student engagement through interactive learning experiences, Brisk Teaching helps you focus on what you do best, teaching. And if you're looking for a way to spark curiosity in students with fun, engaging, and interactive lessons, their newest feature, Brisk Boost, has got you covered. From exit tickets to real-time debates, Brisk Boost makes learning exciting and keeps your students coming back for more. Ready to make teaching brisk? Head over to briskteaching.com and see how Brisk Teaching can transform your classroom for free, saving you hours every time. Now let's get into our 6 tools to try in 2025. Joining me is Marnie Diem, my lead technology specialist. Marnie has been working steadily for the past few months, adding content to the online tech guide and advising me on all things tech. Because I spent most of my time this year working with my developer to build the infrastructure of the online guide, I relied heavily on Marnie to get all the tools into it. So when it came time to choose our 6 tools to share with you in this episode, I asked her to choose them. I still have my same team from last year who will be coming back on this year to continue to maintain the guide throughout the year. But Marnie really was the engine behind getting this online version up and running. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Marnie about the 6 tools you should check out in 2025.
Hey, Marnie.
Hi, Jen. How are you?
Oh, I'm just awesome. So, you and I are chatting in the middle of trying to get our online version of the tech guide burst into the world. And we're not done yet, but we decided to go ahead and record this now. Anyway.
Yeah, and it's definitely birth was a good choice because it's definitely been a labor of love.
Yes.
But holy smokes, this guide, this version, like 10th anniversary, what a perfect time to launch this new platform.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm glad you brought that up because I kind of forget about that sometimes that this is the 10th one. So, um, it's been a real process. And I would just like to hear from you because you are the one who has actually been behind the scenes making it exist. Like I've been working with the developers on the infrastructure, but you've actually been putting all the content into it. So you have more experience with the guide probably even than I do in terms of just using it and testing it out. What would you say is better about this online version of the guide than what we've been doing in all the years past?
So I think there's 2 things that make this year's guide really stand out. And one of those things is the fact that the guide you see in January 2025 may look different than February and March because we can add tools any time of year. So
Mhm.
that has me really excited because in previous years we'd find awesome tools in like June, but we'd have to wait to add them in. So
Yeah.
the fact that this guide is fluid and allows us to add tools whenever we find them is really, really fantastic
Yes.
because it keeps everything on the cutting edge and technology.
Hmm.
And the other thing I really like about this guide is how easy it is to navigate. If someone wanted a print copy, they could print a page here or there if they wanted to, but the ease of access and the accessibility now that it is in this web format instead of the PDF,
Mm-hmm.
I've tested it on my phone, I've tested it on my iPad mini, on my iPad Pro. It just, wherever you go, the guide is there and so easy to navigate.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to hear you say that. And I can't wait to hear, the feedback from other people. We're probably hours, if not just like maybe a day or two from like actually letting people get in there and subscribe. So anyway, thank you. I just want to thank you sort of publicly for all of the hours and hours of work that you've put into making this, building it with us. And okay, so and the reason that you and I are talking on our own this year is because I think last year we had our whole team, but it's basically been you and me for the last 2 or 3 months now. And I've been so busy building the infrastructure of the guide that I have not had very much interaction with the tools themselves. So I basically said, Marnie, you help me build this list of 6 this year, because every year, even though we're not going to be launching a different guide every year, we're going to keep doing this every January, just telling people what to look for. So I have asked you to really be the brains behind choosing our 6 tools this year. And so you and I've gone back and forth, and we have got a list that we're both really excited about. So we're going to just go ahead and get started. The first tool on our list this year is called School AI. The URL is just schoolai.com. Tell me what this platform is and what it does and why you were so excited about it.
So I was at a local conference in November, and I ran into a colleague, a friend of mine that I've known through the years, through the education tech world. Hi, Nick. And he was doing a session on School AI, and I'm like, okay, I've heard of it, whatever. And I decided to go to support him, and my mind was blown, because School AI is what I wish I had in my pocket when I was in the classroom and had 24 kids of varying skill levels. It literally empowers educators to create these custom tutors that students can interact with, create these custom tutors that students can interact with to support their own learning. And that's just one feature of School AI. So it's these things called spaces. And in the space, you can create a sidekick. And I just love that name because it's fun.
Mm.
And say I want to do a sidekick on, I don't know, the American involvement in World War II.
Okay.
I can put in any standards, Common Core, state, whatever you have. I can link any websites specific to that topic. If I have any PDFs or any files, I can upload that, and I'm creating kind of a private chat room. I can add specifications. So it's like my audience is 7th graders of mixed ability. And then what specifically do I want the bot to do or not do? So I can say, have a discussion. And then it opens up this space. It's called a space. And kids log into it, but they don't need to log in. They just have to enter their name. So it's totally COPA and FERPA compliant. So the privacy piece, which is a huge issue with AI,
Yeah.
School AI has that covered. And then the kids are interacting, and you have this teacher dashboard. So you see each conversation that your students are having in real time. And let's say, for example, a student is having a really bad day and they're like, I don't want to be here. School sucks. I wish I was unalive. School AI will flag it for you in real time. You can click on that and see what the warning is. You can pause that student's chat and go have a conversation with them. And that's an extreme. If a student is using, inappropriate words or talking about inappropriate topics, it will flag it for you. And if a student is constantly trying to be off topic, I don't want to do this. This is dumb. It'll flag that also. So one of the examples that we're going to try is using it for a math tutor. Uploading the unit for like whatever math program it is, upload unit 7 to that. And then in the prompt, this is 7th grade math, and in the specific directions, tell the bot, the sidekick, do not give answers. Just prompt the student to help them solve the problems. They can open that up at home, and they have a math tutor sitting right next to them. I'm on problem 3. This is the problem. I don't know what to do. And
so it's just sort of there, so it sounds like you can open a space and actually conduct like a little mini class, or it's just there. You can tell the bot, like, you said before, I want to have a discussion. So would that bot actually, or otherwise it can just be on standby, basically. The student can go in there and use it as a tutor if, it's like you're saying, having trouble with this particular problem.
You can open it and close it whenever you like. So if you're out for a day and you have a guest teacher,
Mm.
you could literally have the sidekick walk students through the lesson. Okay, first
Wow.
we're going to talk about this. And
Uh-huh.
then you, as the teacher, because you opened it before you were out, you, as the teacher, can then go back and see the whole discussion that each student has had with the bot. And that's only
Wow.
one part of School AI. It also has these. Where did it go? It also has these other features similar to many of the platforms, a lot of the AI platforms we have in the
Mm.
guide. So it has these like teacher tools that you can develop an email response, create a rubric, develop a quiz, but it also has this feature called co-teachers. So
Mm.
you, as the teacher, if you're, for example, the only one in your building that teaches a subject, you can open up the co-teacher, tell them the subject, the grade, and
Mhm.
have a discussion with it to help you plan your curriculum or problem solve something you're stuck on.
Wow. Okay. Okay. So if I was to just go to school AI right now, because you're saying it does a lot of different things, what if I'm the school AI representative? What would be my quick elevator pitch? Would it be like, oh, we do everything? Because sometimes platforms that do everything frustrate me because I'm just like, but what is your main thing? Like, you know?
I believe, and it's kind of evident when you go to their website, that the
Mm,
spaces and the sidekick is their main,
okay. Okay.
because that is featured front and center. And they have all these pre-made spaces. So our sixth
Hmm.
graders do a Shark Tank project every year. There's
Mm.
already a space ready to go on Shark Tank. And
So
I
in the
could
same way that you can go to Quizlet and borrow a deck that's already made, you can do that or make your own with these
or
spaces.
take a deck that's already made and modify it to
Oh my
meet your
gosh. Okay.
specific needs.
Yes.
And
Got
then the other stuff is awesome, but I think they're what sets School AI apart
it. Mm.
are those spaces. And the free version of School AI gives you, I believe, at this moment, it's either giving you 75 interactions a day or 150 interactions a day, meaning I could have 75 kids log in on the free version each day. And
Okay,
then
so
they're
an
not
interaction isn't just one back and forth text between you and the bot. It's like an actual session, basically.
correct.
So there is a really robust free option for teachers to try this out with.
Correct.
Awesome. Okay, that is School AI. That is our tool number one. We are going to move next to Snorkel, which is SNORKL .app. What is Snorkel?
I know I said it with the last one that School AI was what I wish I had in my pocket as a teacher. So is Snorkel. And I was an elementary teacher. I think Snorkel is going to be more beneficial for the, fourth grade and up area.
Okay.
But what Snorkel does is it takes the interactive whiteboard one step further.
Okay.
You, as the teacher, can create a math problem or post a math problem, or right now, the science of reading is huge. So you might post some sort of engagement with phonemic awareness or word study. You post it, and then the kids hit record and they have to respond to it, and they narrate what they're doing. They explain their thinking,
Okay.
because that we know is critical. The kids who talk are the kids who learn, explaining your thinking. Now, that sounds like just about every other whiteboard tool.
I'm thinking of Explain Everything. The
Yes,
teachers use that a lot of times to create explainer videos with, okay.
yes. The difference with this is Snorkel then processes the video, listens to it, watches what the student does, and provides almost instantaneous AI feedback that is personalized to the interaction. In the
Mm,
sense that it will say, you got the first part of the problem right when you did this. Nicely done. And then it'll show like 38 seconds in, you added correctly, but you forgot to do this. Did you think about that? And then, 51 seconds in, it will say this. And it will score it for you. And as the teacher, you have the dashboard to see all of that feedback. It will give you data to show you how your kids are doing, what problems they struggled on, or what element of the problem they struggled on. And it provides it to the kids in almost real time. It was mind-blowing.
And I think probably the key to this is, was the feedback good? Was it close to what a human teacher would do? Because, it could do that and do a crappy job. And then it's like, well, nice try. But you're saying that it was pretty spot on.
It was totally spot on.
Wow.
But AI is never going to replace teachers.
Yes.
Because as the teacher, you're the one doing the teaching. You're the one working with students to build that understanding. AI is the little voice that can be at every desk. Well, you can't be.
Exactly,
so Snorkel is in front of every student while they're working on that activity, and you are working with a small group of students, or you're going around the room and working individually. And then you get back to your desk and you can see exactly where students were and listen to their thinking.
How much of this, let's say, exercise that you're giving to students, how much of this are you having to create from scratch? And how much is sort of already in some kind of a library that you could just choose from?
They have a huge library of ready-to-go problems.
Okay.
I shouldn't say problems, but activities covering world language, history, social studies, math, science, social emotional.
Are they standards aligned where you could search for things by, by standard or by subject? I'm assuming by subject area, but.
By subject area, but to be perfectly honest, I only started playing with this last week and was blown away, so I haven't had the full time to dive in. But I would imagine if it's not standards aligned, it will be soon, because everybody needs to be in this day and age.
Yes. That's the disclaimer that we need, that we forgot to make at the beginning of this, is that there's a few things on here that are very new to us also, and to you also. And we opted to go with those, even if we don't know them that well yet, in order to put some fresh things out in front of people. And this list has never been a resounding endorsement saying you have to start incorporating this into your teaching. It's just something you should check out and see if it could be useful to you. So there are some aspects to these things that we may not know, in and out, but we're just saying this seems to be something worth looking into.
Yeah, Snorkel's tagline is instant feedback on authentic student thinking.
Okay, that's great. And yeah, I can see this. I'm glad you brought up the point about how these will never replace teachers. It sort of addresses the problem of, I can't be everywhere all at once. And I don't want I remember always having students waiting for me to get to them, and how stressful that was, and feeling like I just have to teach them patience, or I have to have them read their book while they're waiting for me. And this gives them something else that might be a lot more academically rich for them to do, as opposed to just waiting for you, or just putting them in pairs with other students who might be able to help them, but maybe probably not so much. So
that's why Classroom Q was built. So kids could put their name on the list and not have to stand in line. And this, again, won't replace it, because you're going to always have the student who doesn't want to work unless there's someone sitting next to them and needs that extra push and that extra encouragement. But this really allows you to get to each individual student's needs in a way that wouldn't be possible in one period.
Right. And it's just one more tool of many that you can cobble together to get them more attention, basically. Okay, that was number 2. That is snorkel.app, no E in the Snorkel. Number 3, we've actually had this in the guide for a while, but we decided to just kind of like shine a light on it because we think it's really cool. And this is DeckToys, DECK.TOYS. That is the name, and that is the URL also. What is DeckToys?
So I had never heard of deck toys before I started playing in the guide.
Mm-hmm.
Remember Prezi, how you could create presentations and they kind of branched all
Mm-hmm.
over the place?
Yep.
Deck Toys is a gamified platform for learning that branches like that. So picture an interactive board game.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to start here, and then students have two choices. They can either go left or down. And left is flashcards, and down is a word search. And they pick one and they go
Mm-hmm.
interact with that activity. And when they complete that activity, they can either go left or down again.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have choice, which students need while they're learning. And like Snorkel and School AI, there are tons of pre-built decks in all languages. So that's one of the really cool things is deck toys
Mm-hmm.
is multilingual in the sense
Yeah.
that you can do any language just about and you can create any activity. So I was playing with one the other day and I was doing science flashcards. And after I did the flashcards, I went to an activity that was a maze. And in the maze, I had to look at, so this flashcard had a train on it and it was molt. And then the definition card had an airplane on it. So then I had to navigate the train through the maze to get to the airplane. And if
Mm-hmm.
I was correct, then it disappeared from the screen and I went to the next flashcard. So it's
Mm-hmm.
got all these little mini games, and
Yeah.
each one is either a teaching experience or a learning experience for the student.
Okay. So basically it's a way of taking any body of content that I'm assuming maybe this is stuff that you've recently taught or the kids have recently learned, and it's a way of giving them basically some retrieval practice with it and some, just some interactivity with it. So you plug this content into these frameworks that allow it to turns it into like a little mini game.
And you get to design it. You can
Yeah.
have as many activities and learnings as you'd like. You can have as few on any topic. There's unlimited paths that you create.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then your students join it kind of like they would join a Google Classroom.
Okay. Okay.
Post
Or
the
like a
link.
Kahoot or something like that. They just go in
Exactly.
with a code and they're in.
Yep. You post the
Um,
link, they go in. It was really fun and it was really easy. In the first 10 minutes, I had 4 activities. I was working on creating one on email etiquette just so I could see how it worked.
yeah. So this would be good for teachers of any subject area, as long as your kids can read, basically, probably any age level. And this is just a really good thing for sort of like, what do I do in between teaching the content and testing the content? I need my kids to do something with it. This would be one of those options. And it seems like it could also be good for like early finishers or something like that. If you've got like, go back into the deck and do, another 2 or 3 activities or something
Take
like
another
that.
path, try a different path. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Like the other two tools, this has a very robust free version also. There's a paid version which is in US dollars currently under $100 for the year, which
Okay.
is fantastic. But the
Hmm.
free version gives you the option to have up to 40 students, up to 100 decks. They're deck toys.
Wow. Yeah.
So it's
Good.
really quite robust also, and I'm honestly thinking we're wrapping up a digital citizenship unit in 4th grade. The kids would have an absolute blast with this.
Awesome. Okay, so that is deck toys. Tool number 4, this is another one that we have had in the guide already for a while. This is read and write. This is all one word, the word read, ampersand, and the word write. And this is by a company called TextHelp. So the URL is a little longer. It's texthelp.com/products/read-and-write-education. And by the way, on Cult of Pedagogy, I'm going to actually have a list of all of these tools with URLs and videos to show you how they work. So we've had Read and Write in the guide for a while. We've had it in our special ed section. Tell us about what Read and Write is and why we really wanted to highlight it this year.
Read and Write is an incredible piece of assistive technology for any learner. And it seems to be that we are finding more and more kids are having challenges in accessing information and growing their learning. So
Mhm.
while this tool has been around for a while, I don't know if people are actually fully utilizing it or if they're utilizing it at all. So that's part of
Mhm.
why we wanted to highlight it,
Mhm.
because A, it's free and it's completely free to teachers, even the pro version. So that is pretty amazing because of what this does. And
Yeah.
I stumbled upon it initially because I was looking for a tool that would read websites to kids. And
Right.
yes, there's tons of options out there, but more than read it, I needed a dictionary. I wanted the ability to annotate. I wanted the ability to save things, and Read&Write does all of that. And
Okay.
it's a little teeny puzzle piece. So it's always there, and you can choose to turn it on or turn it off based on what you're doing.
Okay.
And there are also times when we want to take an article from a website and we want to remove all the clutter around it. I mean,
Yes.
we know that websites need to make their money via advertising and whatnot, but when you have someone reading for information, it can be challenging with all those distractions. Not only does Read&Write remove distractions, it will also adjust the reading level for you. So
Mm.
it's a really nice, straightforward. I don't want this to come out as a negative. It's not flashy, which
Mhm.
is great. It's got all the bells and whistles, but they're like grayscale instead of flashing neon
Mhm.
lights, which is a key need for a lot of people to not be distracted.
Right, right. That's the thing, is that if we're talking about kids who have trouble focusing or whatever, this to take away distractions is what we really need them to have.
And this has tools built in for multi-level. So there's a regular dictionary and there's a picture dictionary.
Mm.
There's the option to have the article read to you. There's also an option for you to practice reading the article out loud.
Mhm.
There's screen masking. So you can just expose the lines that you're reading. There's
Mhm.
the option to make predictions. There's multiple color highlighters, and you can use the different color highlighters to create your own vocabulary bank. So it's
Mm.
just got all of these little features put together in a platform that benefits anyone who wants to use it.
So this is my for the last few years I've always thought of this as a Chrome extension. Um, it's not just that though. I mean, it works with any website through Chrome, but it you can build it into other platforms too, right? Or layer it onto other platforms.
Yeah, I believe so. And it has, so this is from Text Help, and they have
Hmm.
other tools as well that are also,
We have actually have kind of a handful of their tools in the guide
yeah,
because I know they've got a math tool and they've got, so texthelp.com is a place for people to go in general for like great educational tools.
it's got a built in translator. Um, I just, it's got some really cool features. So whatever you highlight, because mentioning I wanted kids to be able to annotate,
Hmm.
you can highlight and then you can collect those highlights and download them. So you
Hmm.
have all of the notes that you just took
Mm.
in essence. So while other kids might be writing in the margins or whatnot, you can have your notes collected in a way that is accessible for you.
Okay, so Read&Write, just for any teacher who has students who struggle with text of any kind, it's worth looking at. And that probably applies to any teacher anywhere because we have lots and lots of kids who either have an actual diagnosis that says that they need this or not. I know that I had lots and lots of students over the years who I thought maybe could have used a diagnosis, but for whatever reason, they did not qualify, or maybe their parents didn't want them tested for things. But I thought they could use, and so to me, I'm thinking more in terms of a universal design perspective of just find the tool, use the tool, show it to all of your students. And many of them might just be like, yeah, I just like using this, for example, screen masking. I just like having those distractions removed, and this might be a kid who normally does perfectly fine anyway without it, but they just like using it. So this is a really good one for people to look into.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. And it is always up to date. I mean, they're always looking for ways to improve it. So
awesome. Okay, so that is Read and Write. That was number 4. We've got 2.5 more. We've got a 5th and a 6th tool, and then we've got a little add-on. So tool number 5 is WeVideo, which I've mentioned on the podcast a lot. They actually have been one of my sponsors for a while, but we've never featured them in this list before, and I think they're going to be surprised to suddenly get this much attention from us. But this is WeVideo.com. And I feel like they've just grown and grown over the years in terms of what they do. So tell us what you like about WeVideo.
I remember the first time I used WeVideo many years ago, and I was playing with it, and I'm like, they have more fun features than the other platform that is device specific that I do most of my work with. I need to check this out.
Uh-huh.
It's also web-based, which is phenomenal because many platforms are device required. They're
Right.
device tied to that device. And WeVideo allows collaboration in creating and editing. So those are just 3 pieces of what sets WeVideo apart from many other platforms.
Yes. So in its simplest terms, it is it's a web-based video editing platform. Correct?
Yes.
Like iMovie or
exactly.
Right? Okay.
And though I was exploring this the other day, knowing we were making it a tool, I believe that you can export things as just audio files, so you can use it as a podcasting tool because you
wow.
can record video and audio directly into WeVideo.
Interesting.
They also have updated and now include this interactive feature where you can have questions throughout the video and you can use AI to generate those questions. And they have a huge variety of interactives available. They have the multiple choice, the fill in the blank, checkboxes, discussions, short answer. They have all of those different options to create these interactives. There's also an incredibly robust library of features. So there is a huge database, so to speak, of different video clips that you can insert in your videos, audio, photos. And what got me that initial time when I first explored WeVideo was all of the overlays, transitions, and templates.
And that's just fun, especially if we're having kids use it. It sounds like they would just love that.
It's really quite engaging, and it's different than the platforms I had used in the past. Now, there are, again, pricing options, and with the free version or the individual version, you have all these creation tools. And then once you get into the classroom license or the site license, that's where you have access to all those interactions. And as I was playing, I saw something called branched learning, which talked about how they can be at this part of the video, answer a question, and based on their answer, it will take them to a different section of the video.
Wow.
So that sounded really cool.
Yeah.
And is something I definitely want to explore further. So I like how this has WeVideo has kind of evolved into not just the straight up video editing, but now it has the additional features that build the interactivity, that allow for the discussion, that allow for the individualized learning, as well as the student creation side of the video process.
Yeah. One of the things that has struck me about WeVideo is that they've got that assignments library, which is just what it appears to be anyway. I haven't tried it, but it's basically assignments you can give to your students for creating videos. So they have like a PSA that students can record, a community public service announcement. There's a screencast. You're thinking, I'm looking at it right now. And so if you're somebody who's saying, I would love to have my students make a video for an assignment, this is already kind of pre-built and set up for you to walk them through how to do that. Which again, I think this is an example of how this platform has taken the idea of video creation and editing and they just kind of kept going with it. Like, what else can we do with it? How else can we make it educationally, interesting and rich for students? And so, yeah. So is there a free option? Because I'm kind of looking and I'm not seeing much.
You can create, it's a very limited, I want to say it's like 5 minutes worth, and it has the WeVideo watermark.
And just kind of just trying it out, really.
It's kind of like a teaser to get you into it. And what's nice is if you really wanted to, you could purchase an individual license. It's incredibly reasonable.
Okay.
But it's not as fully featured. If you get that classroom license or that teacher license, it's incredibly discounted, and it has all of those awesome features.
Okay.
And as you were talking about with the assignments that are available, just like the previous tools that we've talked about, you can kind of remix an assignment. So you can take the assignment that's already created and then customize it to make it yours. And you can kind of set it up so that students are working from the template or the starting blocks that you create. That was something I forgot to mention that's really cool, is that teachers can create their own template and then students fill in the blanks as they go.
Right. So that, okay, that solves another problem. Sometimes having students creating digital products, and I'm thinking way back to sort of like the 90s where kids would spend an hour just picking out a font. But now we have that equivalent with all of these other tools where if they have too many choices and are starting from complete scratch, you could have one kid who is done in a day and another kid who takes 4 weeks to complete. And so by having some pieces already in place where it's a template and then they just fill in some parts, I think that could save a lot of time for everybody and still give them a really great experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
WeVideo has done a phenomenal job of staying relevant. There's so many video platforms out there, and WeVideo continues to be a go-to, at least in the educational setting, because it's secure and so user-friendly.
Nice. And it's nice that they keep evolving, because sometimes we find tools that are just great and then we look back at them a few years later and it's like, oh, it's still just exactly the same and it looks like you haven't done anything at all. And it's nice to see tools continue to grow like that. Okay. The sixth one, we just talked about it and you are super excited about this one. And again, another disclaimer is we're just kind of getting to know this last one. So we can't talk too much about it, but I would like to hear about NotebookLM. Looks like the URL is NotebookLM. That's just all one word, .google.com. So this is a newish Google tool. What is it?
So this is the tool that when I started playing with it, I paused, opened my emailed one of my colleagues and said, I'm coming to find you as soon as I finish this because you have to see this new tool. So NotebookLM allows you, it's an AI-based tool, and it allows you to create a custom chat using your own documentation. And by that, I mean you can create the most amazing FAQ for your student handbook, for your faculty handbook, for your unit on I don't know.
Any large text, basically, that's got
Anything.
lots and lots of words. Yes.
So to play with this, I uploaded our fifth grade technology handbook, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
40-ish pages. It's, 8.5 by 11 folded in half. It's been made into a booklet. I uploaded it, and then the chat bases all of its responses on the information you gave it. So if, for example, a student could ask, "What's the charging policy?" and they would type it into
Mm-hmm.
the chat, and Notebook would pull the response from the handbook.
So it sounds like it's sort of like when I go to any website and the chat bot appears in the bottom and I'm like, I'm talking to a robot, but I'll go ahead and ask the question. And what it's doing is that it's searching through all of the documentation on the site to give you the best answer. So
Yes.
basically, NotebookLM can make that for you for any document you give it.
Yes. But the part that blew my mind is that there is a feature called NotebookLM Studio.
Mm-hmm.
And what that feature does is it creates a podcast out of the document or documents that you have fed into it. So I took that fifth grade tech handbook and it created a podcast, and it's two people having a discussion. It's not robotic. It's as if it was you and I, Jen, sitting here talking about the content. Hey, did you see the section on digital citizenship? Yeah, that was interesting that they added it into their
Wow.
handbook for just, technology. Shouldn't that be taught in classes? Well, yeah, it sounds like it gave me a podcast that was just over 12 minutes. And I'm listening to it going, OMG, this is beyond. But wait, there's more. I
Oh
feel
my
like I'm on The
gosh.
Price is Right.
Right.
They have an interactive mode that is currently in beta where you
Uh-huh.
can join the podcast as a caller. And you
Okay.
can literally call into this podcast and ask a question, and it will be answered in the discussion.
About your document that you gave them.
Yes.
Okay. And they will just answer you. Their voices will answer you.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't see me nodding, but
Wow.
it'll I'm envisioning like teachers creating review podcasts at the end of a social studies unit, uploading all their notes into it
Yeah.
and turning it into a podcast so students can listen to that while they study.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That was going to be my next question, is like, how do you see this being used? So anybody who's got sort of a big chunk of information, they can feed it in
And you can put in multiple sources. I only
right.
put in the one source.
Mm-hmm.
I could choose to take my entire unit and upload all the documents for the unit and create a podcast to share with families so they know what their children are learning about.
Mm. I'm thinking if I'm like a college English professor and I've had my students reading like, Hamlet or something, and then we've had to read three or four, literary criticisms of it, I could upload all of those things in, and this podcast could talk about like this person said this, and then this other person had a completely different take, and
And
wow.
and more than that, if you uploaded all the sources,
Mm,
students could then have a chat with it. They could engage
wow.
with it. And
Yeah.
by the way, flipping back all the way to the beginning where we started with school AI, you
Mm-hmm.
could create, and I actually think there is one, a Hamlet space, and the
Mm-hmm.
kids could talk to any of the characters
Oh
in
my
Hamlet.
gosh. That would be wild.
I had a whole discussion with a very famous historical graveyard in New Orleans. It was
Wow.
fascinating.
The ghosts.
No, the caretaker.
The ca- Wow. Okay.
I was learning about all the people that were buried in that cemetery from the
So
1800s.
that is crazy. Okay, but that was school AI,
That was going
right?
back.
Okay. Okay.
This one,
Notebook LM, is it free right now?
it is
You Google
completely
usually
free.
starts everything free.
It
Okay.
is a Google tool. It's very straightforward. You literally go to the website. There's a tab called sources. You upload whatever sources you want to use. There's
Mm-hmm.
a tab called chat. That's where you can have your discussion. And then when you click on studio, that's where you can create the podcast. And once you create that podcast, you can actually have it create a study guide, create an FAQ, create a timeline. It just,
And I'm assuming all of this is this editable stuff? So if they get it wrong somewhere, can you, as the teacher, do you know? I mean, I know that you're just starting to play with this, but I'm assuming that we can get in there and adjust what they did. You're making a
I
face like I don't know
I
yet.
I don't know, but I'm waiting for it to generate right now as
Okay.
we speak.
Okay.
I would think that in this kind of AI usage,
Yeah.
because you're providing the information,
Yeah.
going to be less likely to make mistakes than when it was creating its own.
Okay.
And yes, it looks like because you can convert it to a source. So I just had it create a document and then I could copy and paste it in and edit to my heart's
Okay.
content. And
Okay.
just this year's tools are all tools that are like they're tools for today. They're tools that you,
Yeah.
if you are listening to this, you could literally open up any of these tools right now and within 20 minutes be fully immersed in being able to utilize the tool.
Wow. Wow. I mean, that's you saying that too. Like you're a very fast learner when it comes to stuff, but I trust you too that you've worked with a lot of people maybe who need, a little bit easier of an experience. So,
Yeah.
okay, so those were our 6 tools. That last one is Notebook LM. We added a 7th one as sort of an asterisk. We have had a problem that teachers have been presented with because one of the tools we featured a couple of years ago was Flipgrid, which then turned into Flip when Microsoft acquired it. And now Flip still exists, right? But it's buried inside of Microsoft Teams. So if you're not working in a school that is using Microsoft, you kind of can't really use Flip anymore. And a lot of teachers miss it, love it, don't know what to do now. So we are going to recommend what as a replacement for people who want Flip, aka Flipgrid.
We are recommending, among others, because there is
Mm-hmm.
this question is in the wonderings of the guide.
Mm-hmm.
We are recommending Padlet as one of the most similar tools available.
Okay.
In playing with Padlet, which most people are probably familiar with, it's been around for years. It was Wallwisher before it was Padlet.
Was it really?
I was using
I
it
don't
as
remember.
Wallwisher.
Yeah.
It was really cool. With Padlet, you upload, it's like that big interactive bulletin board, and each student or participant can create their sticky note. And in
Yes.
that sticky note, there's always been options of what you can do. You can have text, you can have photos, you can have links to other sources or
Mm-hmm.
websites. But now they have added, maybe it was there too, there's a video feature, but
Mm-hmm.
in that video recorder feature, now they have kind of like skins, which is not as robust as what Flip had.
Mm.
It's fed through Snapchat, so I want to investigate that a little bit. It doesn't require a login from anyone, which is great,
Okay.
but it allows you to be an astronaut, to be a news reporter, to do all of the fun things that you could do
Mm.
with Flip in
Mm-hmm.
recording that video. And
Can
what
you also just record a straight up video without having to have those extra filters?
and you can record a straight up audio.
Okay. Right.
So you could also do a, I don't know, you could record in anything. You can do a screen recording, you can
Mm-hmm.
draw. So it's got a lot of the same features as Flip. What
Mm-hmm.
really makes this stand out from other tools that also, because Snorkel is also considered a potential replacement for Flip,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
because you can explain your thinking and show your thinking, and the teacher can listen to it.
Yeah.
This allows classmates to listen also, because the teacher can set the public viewing or the viewing level of the Padlet. So if you wanted to have a class all record a story they wrote, and then be able to listen to each other and give feedback.
Yes, because you can comment on other people's Padlet submissions too, right?
Provides that.
Right. Okay. So we added Padlet, even though many, many people listening have probably already experienced and used Padlet. It is now sort of emerging as probably your best bet if you want to get back to what you used to do with Flipgrid /Flip.
Yes.
Twitter, like we say, Twitter /X.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for these recommendations, and thank you so much for building this online guide. We are not going to release this podcast until the guide is actually open for subscriptions, and I'm going to add my own audio at the beginning and end of this to give people instructions on how to do that. But we should be at this point less than a few days away from having it out there. So thank you so much, Marnie.
You are welcome. I can't wait. I wish I could be a fly on the wall as people open the guide in this format for the first time, because it's really, really exciting.
To subscribe to the all-new Teacher's Guide to Tech online, visit teachersguidetotech.com. For links to all the tools we talked about in this episode, along with videos of the tools in action, visit cultofpedagogy.com, click podcast, and choose episode 241. To get a bi-monthly email from me about my newest blog posts, podcast episodes, courses, and products, sign up for my mailing list at cultofpedagogy.com/subscribe. Thanks so much for listening, and have a great day.